On bottom right, I opened a small blind against a very big fish. I had him marked as a fish, and he plays 58-14. So a small sample, but the VPIP is very reliable even on small samples. On top left, I'm obviously 3-betting my queens. But on the bottom right, I'd like to see a c-bet. I think that against a very loose player, 100% c-bet is fine, because he's going to miss a lot of boards. I think it's very wrong to say that against a big fish you should only play for value. It's probably one mistake that I made at a certain point in my life, and I think I lost a lot of value playing that style. I think fish that play a very wide range is pre-flop, and even when they call a lot on the flop, should be bluffed. So you should bluff very loose players, regardless of there are fishes or not, because if a fish plays very loose on the flop, very loose on the very loose pre-flop, very loose on the flop, very loose on the turn, he will come to the river with some missed something or some bottom pair a lot of the time. So when his range of calling each street are weaker, the odds that he's going to fold the next street are good, and especially on the river, if they call very weakly on all the streets on the river, they were going to fold a lot. So I think you should multi-barrel fish very often. Right there with the queens. The action started with a cutoff open button 3-bets. Then I get called for a bet by a regular. I don't think that I could ever fold queens in that spot. If the action started under the gun, maybe it was closer. But I think queens 100 big blinds deep on a 6-mac table, it's very hard to fold unless you have some very good reasons to believe a certain player is very tight to the point he only makes a play with kings or aces. But in that case, I had some fold equity, and that alone helps me to shove. Plus, he was for betting for value with tens. I think queens in that spot is not close. In jack suited, I 3-bet against the button open. When I'm in the small blind, I very rarely flat raise. I rather 3-bet or fold all my hands. I don't think that it is a spot where it is necessary to have a calling range. Even for balancing purposes, I don't think that the calling range is necessary. When a player opens the button, he's trying to steal. Obviously, if I only 3-bet or fold, he's going to bet better odds on his steal, because I'm not going to 3-bet all of hands. But the responsibility of that spot is more on the big blind. The big blind has better odds, has no one else to act besides. So I don't think that the small blind has any balancing concerns. Only the big blind should be worried with its balancing when facing a steal from the button. And on the big blind, I make some calls and some 3-bets. I 3-bet more polarized or unpolarized, depending on the player who's opening and if I expect that when facing a 3-bet, he decides to 4-bet or folds, or if he calls a lot. If he calls a lot, I 3-bet. Unpolarized, if he only 4-bet or fold, I 3-bet a lot of garbage and call with reasonable hands. Well, here I have ace-king facing a raise from the very weak player. He's very weak, but he's very passive. 59% VPIP, but only 13% raise. So I don't expect him to have a weak hand. I make it very big. I'm not sure why. I think it was to achieve pot-sized flop where I could play for stacks on my ace king eye on any board. That's what I did. I'm okay with that sizing based on that plan post flop. I don't want to be with 2 times spot or 1.5 times spot on the flop with ace king eye. It's a very bad situation.